In today's video, we're going to talk about the top 5 mistakes many new algorithmic traders or people just using trading bots in general make. So trading bots are a very sexy thing. They have a lot of appeal to many folks because you think that, oh my God, this is perhaps a way to make some easy cash, and perhaps it's going to kind of be almost a golden ticket. And although trading bots are fantastic, unfortunately they're not magic money printers. And many people, when they first get into it, they get almost a little bit too excited and they do things which are not super smart long term. And really, like, as somebody who has developed algo trading bots for years and has quite a few hundred clients using our bots at Prosperity Algo, there's a few common mistakes I find by just talking to people in the community, as well as from even my own journey. And I wanted to kind of make this video to talk about some of those mistakes and what you can do to pretty much avoid them. So probably the number one mistake that people make is they don't understand the concept of grid martingales. So especially with a lot of commercial bots, they're oftentimes grid martingale. And if you don't know what this is, you should probably look it up, in which essentially trading bots are grid martingales if they don't close losers, and instead they double down on losing positions. So they average into losers. So let's say the first one has a lot size of 1 and loses. The second trade would have a lot size of 2, and then 4, and then 8, and so on and so forth. And why this is problematic is that although, like, yes, the last trade, if it wins, should cover all prior losses, which is why you tend to have fairly smooth equity curves, you can obviously have exponential lot size increases, and this can lead to blowing up accounts. So this is one area where a lot of people, when they first backtest the trading bot, they'll see a perfect straight line, and they won't understand that that's probably been overfit to a certain period of time, and that in the event that there was just one bad run of losers, you could lose your entire account. So that's probably one of the most common mistakes that people make. They kind of find this magical box, which is the grid martingale, and they don't understand that although it can be a viable strategy, you need to protect your downside, and not everybody knows that when they first get into it. Probably the second biggest mistake that I see people make is they use a bad broker. And especially like in the land of affiliates and kind of influencers, oftentimes people will send traffic or send folks to a broker which they have an affiliate partnership with, and obviously there's absolutely nothing wrong with this. Like, we are a big IB and we send our clients to brokers too, but sometimes less scrupulous players will send people to bad brokers because they're being paid an overly crazy commission from doing that. And you'll see this particularly with like very, very unregulated brokers. They'll give a pretty significant kickback, or they'll make the spreads much wider so they can pay an incredibly high rebate to the introducer. And why this is challenging is you as the client might end up paying 10 times the fees than you should, because you don't understand that when you're going to a broker, you should make sure they're a reputable broker. So that's another pretty common mistake, but not so much in like more sophisticated markets, but in many particularly developing countries, this is pretty common because it's just like a pretty significant way of growing, because the affiliates, like, usually the account sizes are pretty small in those countries, so the affiliates need to make a lot of money per lot traded, whereas in more affluent countries, usually folks are trading with bigger account sizes. So even if like your percent fee is significantly less, because the account is bigger, that generally results in still a generous commission being paid to the introducer. So just one thing to be mindful of: always trade with a good broker. Shameless plug, Vantage and ACY are some of the best brokers out there, but there's lots of good ones. So the third mistake here is not understanding win rate and risk reward. So a very common question I get asked, which kind of caused a bit of a chuckle, is people ask for, hello, I'd like a high risk reward bot with a high win rate. So it's like, yeah, don't we all? But there's essentially an inverted relationship between win rate and risk reward. Generally speaking, when you develop a trading strategy, if you pick something that has a super high win rate, the risk reward will generally speaking be lower. And this is simply because any sort of edge, like let's say you pick your risk reward by defining a profit target and a stop loss, and let's say it's a 1-to-1. Your win rate will converge to being something above 50%, because you'll always kind of converge to whatever the break-even win rate would be. And this is just comes down to like properties of randomness. So let's say, for instance, if your stop loss is twice as big as your take profit, then you need to make 66% of trades to be profitable just to break even. Therefore, in a kind of in a random system, you should have a 66% win rate, because then you would be at zero, you'd be at break even. So in this case, like a good system would have a win rate over 66%. So essentially what you have to do is, if you evaluate a trading robot, you have to understand the edge over randomness and understand how to calculate break-even win rates. So when you assess maybe a scalper, you'll know that, hey, the win rate is super high, but I can anticipate the risk reward being inverted. And at the same time, if you're evaluating, let's say, a more of a swing trading system, and you see a 50% win rate, you'll be like, wow, this is amazing, because the risk reward is quite high. So this is just one thing that people need to realize, that inverted relationship, just so that when you actually evaluate a system, you know what to look for. Third factor here, or fourth factor, pardon me, is only trading one pair. Another thing that I see in certain markets, people are obsessed with a particular pair, like gold. People are obsessed with trading gold, and they always want to trade gold. And realistically, this makes absolutely no sense, right? You should just trade whatever makes you money. But people kind of almost have an emotional attachment sometimes to a certain ticker. And in reality, by putting all of your eggs in one basket and only trading one pair, you quite often can thoroughly reduce the diversification of your total portfolio and just not do as well. Because if gold, let's say, ranges and you have a bunch of trend following bots, you won't do that well. Whereas if you're trading 5 different pairs, you'll likely do way better. So this is another very common mistake you see people make. They want to trade gold, they want to trade Eurodollar, and they'll only look for bots which trade gold or Eurodollar. When in reality, you should kind of look for a diversified portfolio, because it will make an enormous positive benefit. Finally, over-leveraging. This is a super duper common mistake, particularly with beginners who don't have large account sizes. Even if you have the world's greatest trading strategy, if you over-lever, you can lose all of your money. Think of it in the perfect example of an unfair coin. Imagine you have a coin where heads and tails, and it lands on heads 75% of the time. If it lands on heads, you make double your money, and if it lands on tails, you lose whatever your bet was, right? And imagine you bet 100% of your money on the first flip. You still have a 25% chance of losing all your money. And if you do this enough times, eventually you're going to flip the 25% and you will lose all your money. So what this goes to show is that even if you have an amazing strategy with a fantastic edge, if you just risk an enormous percentage of your capital in every single trade, you're mathematically guaranteed to blow your account. And a lot of algo traders do this because they're trying to flip $100 into 10,000 or something ridiculous. And in reality, in doing so, they just risk way too much money, and this almost always ends poorly. And I've seen this with many people as well. So really, guys, these are the top 5 mistakes that new algo traders make. Not the end of the world if you made these, because hopefully at the beginning you're trading with fairly modest amounts of money or using a demo account. But if you avoid these, you're probably going to be in a better spot. So guys, I hope you enjoyed more of our educational video today, and I'll see you in the next one.